and et cetera. Why don't you start us off, Ms. Fatuga?
Okay, well, thank you first for having us on the show this morning. My name is Rashida Fatuga, and I am the founder of Gideon's Army, Grassroots Army for Children. We are a grassroots organization that focuses on dismantling the prison pipeline. Grassroots meaning that we are people who are affected by this issue, who are advocating for change. I graduated from Vanderbilt University, Peabody College. My major is elementary education and child development. And I love Nashville so much that I decided to stay and really just give back to this city because I was given so much as a student in college. And so I stayed and became a school teacher at Metro Public Schools for 7 years. And then I left the school system and just started to really do a lot of research to understand a lot of the issues that I saw our kids having once they got out of elementary school and into middle school and high school. And I came to understand that there was a systemic issue that really needed to be addressed.
Very good. Now, Ms. Hughes, what about you? Give us some information about your background, your education, and in a real sense, how you got to where we are now.
Okay, well, my name is Hughes, and I'm part of Gideon's Army nonprofit program, and I deal with mostly the teens, and I do little events called Peace Project. So every month we just come up with something to do, team-based, everything run by teams. I am a senior in high school this year. I'm getting ready to graduate, and pretty much everything I do is Gideon's Army.
And so this is your last year in high school, and what are you planning on doing beyond high school, Ms. Hughes?
In the summer, I'm going to get my CNA license for nursing and my dental programs, and I'm going to attend school for 2 years to get my associates and hopefully transfer to Vanderbilt for my 4 years.
And of course, Pastor Walker, you know these two persons quite well, and why don't you, in addition to telling us how you became involved in this issue per se, why don't you tell us something about the two of them?
Well, you know, Dr. Haney, personally, I'm interested, my interest is in people who are interested in helping people. You know, that's the whole calling on my life. You know, I came from a background of drug addiction, spent 17 plus years of my life in active drug addiction and the like, spent time in the prison system. And, you know, and God called me into ministry. And as a minister, you know, my heart is for people, there's a compassion within me for people, to reach out to people. So when I see other people who are genuinely reaching out to people, who have a genuine concern, because there are people out here that are reaching out, but they're not reaching out with a genuine concern as far as to the outcome of the people whom they're reaching to. Let me give you an example. You've got people that are served on a soup line, but they're complaining and grumbling all the while they're on that line. They're just doing it because maybe their churches have they're gonna have a day to serve the homeless somewhere, and they just on the line, but it's not really in their heart to do it. So when I find people that's got this in their heart, you know, that's why you see me on your show oftentimes with different people, because these are people that I know that have a sincere desire to help other people. And then when I met Rashida some time ago over there in the NAACP office over on Jefferson Street, and she began to talk to me at that time about some of the things that she was doing and some of the things that she was ready to do. She was explaining to me some things about Gideon's Army, and somehow we got disconnected for a period of time. And then I got an email about an event that she was having concerning the school to prison pipeline, and I immediately wrote that on my calendar, immediately responded to her email, guaranteed her that I would be there. Not only did I come, but I brought another one of my associate ministers with me from the church, had another one scheduled to come. So I'm genuinely concerned with what they're concerned about.
Very good. And of course, we're going to take our first commercial break, and then we'll have Ms. Hughes to give us some information during the second segment. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Thank you and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Ms. Fatuga, Ms. Hughes, and Pastor Walker, and the issue is from school to prison, breaking the pipeline. And all three have given us excellent information in reference to some of the issues faced by many of the young people involved in public education today. And I think that Ms. Hughes, you could give us some information about your background and your education and what you think about this whole idea of going from prison to from school to prison. Let's talk about it from that perspective.
Okay, my name is Hughes, and I am a senior in high school, but the road to actually be a senior has not always been easy. I have always been faced with conflicts and obstacles to get over, and let's just say the school system has not made it easy for me. My junior year of high school, I had experienced something where I had played part in a fight, but I wasn't really at fault to be accused enough to be put out of school, but I was, and as of the zero tolerance in MMPS schools, I was kicked out for a calendar year. I appealed it and I was kicked out for 6 weeks, and I was able to return back to a troubled high school or a transition school where I received my education to become a senior now with behavior students. And I just didn't like the way that I was placed. Like, it wasn't right. It was like they moved me from being a IB honor student to taking standard classes.
Do you find, Ms. Fatuga, her story familiar in terms of these transitional schools and transitional kind of situations? And say something in reference to that.
It's very familiar. There are a lot of students who have infractions, and instead of them being dealt with in the classroom or even in the office, they're pushed out of schools, pushed into from expulsions, suspensions to alternative schools. I do know that Metro Public Schools is working on their alternative school program, and I want to acknowledge the work that they are doing and the support that they've even given to Gideon's Army as we get out in the community and do the work. However, right now there is an issue, and it's a national issue. It's not just Metro Public Schools, it's not just the state of Tennessee, but nationally there's an issue with zero tolerance where our students are being pushed out for a lot of reasons that are ridiculous, and they are not consistent across race. They're not consistent across the school districts, even across schools, even as it's dealt with from teacher to teacher. What the research does say is that kids are funneled out of the classroom and into the office at an unfair rate. And once they get to the office, it's pretty consistent how they're suspended and expelled. However, we know that this definitely affects Black children, especially Black males, more than any other demographic. And that's when you control for behavior, for socioeconomic status. So it doesn't necessarily matter what they've done or what their economic status is. It's still very racially biased, and it's not necessarily white teachers doing this to Black children. It's just an issue where our boys are being funneled out of the school. In this case, Mashirka was caught up in that same system, which is unfortunate. Like she said, she was an IB student. I was involved at that time. I looked through the accounts that other students had written where they said she did not do it, or she tried to stop the fight, that it had nothing to do with her, and still they wanted to suspend her for a calendar year, and she would have been suspended for a calendar year had we not appealed it. And even with the appeal, we got a 6 weeks, and I think we really should have taken it to one more level, but you know, that's parental decision.
Do you find that that is general, the suspension for that period of time, for a calendar year, and how detrimental from your own experiences can that be to a student?
Suspending a student for any amount of time, expulsions, it's proven to be ineffective. Research says it is the most ineffective form of discipline in schools, and yet it's the most widely used. And we've known that since, I think one of the first studies was done by the Children's Defense Fund in 1975. So we've known this for a long time, but you know, resistance to change from the